And we're back. You guys probably enjoyed that episode with Gary Morgan earlier, but we have another familiar face on the pod today. Adam Bittner returns after a while of not being here on the podcast, but me and Adam are going to preview the upcoming Cubs series that starts tonight, as well as looking ahead to the Philly series that'll wrap up the week. We'll give our preview and predictions, as well as whatever else comes up and what the Pirates could be in for a very interesting week, because next week is the trade deadline. With that said, guys, I am Ethan Smith of the Locked On Pirates podcast. You guys can find me on Twitter at MVP_Ethan or at Locked On Pirates. And with that said, let's get into episode 2 today on Monday, July 25th.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alrighty, everybody, and we are back for the second episode of today's Monday, July 25th edition of Locked On Pirates. Of course, earlier with Gary, if you caught that episode, go catch it. We talked about Jose Quintana's trade value, why trading veterans is an okay thing still for this team, and when the window of contention appears to be opening. But look who's back, and I guess we decided to match today, me and Adam, except mine is a Kappa Sigma shirt. So if you're a Kappa Sigma, Adam, and you didn't tell me, I'm going to be very upset. But anyways, Adam Bittner is here. There's a lot going on in the sports world outside of baseball, but here we are talking about baseball. Adam, how have you been, man? It's been a while.
Hey, I'm well. I was in South Africa for a wedding, and so I was off the grid for a little bit. And that's good this time of year before we get into football and everything getting crazy in the fall. So I'm back now, and I'm glad to be talking Buccos with you.
Oh, yeah, of course. And over here at Locked On Pirates, we're very excited for a lot of things among the Pittsburgh shows on the network. Hockey, of course, covering everything in the offseason, NFL training camp starting up soon, and Locked On Pitt. Hopefully will be a college game day for that special edition of the Backyard Brawl on Thursday, September 1st. I think that's awesome. It's Thursday, whatever Thursday that is. I don't know if it's September 1st or not, but
yeah, I think you did nail it. You're good.
Nice. All right.
You got my alma mater playing that night too, Penn State. So there'll be all three local-ish, college football teams will be in action that Thursday night. So that should be fun.
That is going to be some wild stuff. The Pirates, meanwhile, leave the happy confines of PNC Park after a 2-out-of-3 loss to the Marlins, which I wasn't very surprised about. It was nice to see Sandy Alcantara get taken yard off of O'Neal Cruz. But they play a team, obviously, that I think they are better than at this point in the Chicago Cubs, who are only going to get worse, I think, at this deadline. I think David Robertson, Wilson Contreras, guys like that will definitely be out the window. Short little 2-game set. I don't remember, was this a rescheduled or is this just how this was scheduled? I'm not really, because I don't see anything about a rescheduling of anything, but it appears that it was just scheduled this way, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, just a quick 2-gamer. There aren't many of them in the season, especially, sometimes they'll split them up for interleague, but you don't see a ton of the 2 games anymore. But yeah, this is just I think a standard 2-game.
All right. Yep. And as you guys see, if you're on YouTube, on the bottom ticker, we have the records and the pitching matchup. So tonight we get JT Brubaker, or as a Pirates group chat I'm in, has started calling him JT Ace Baker, because JT Brubaker has done a phenomenal job this year, I think, bringing his ERA down to a 4.02. Over his last couple starts, the guy has just been awesome. I've really been enjoying what I've seen from him. He's pitched more than 5 innings in all of his last 6 starts. Has given him 9 hits against the Rays. That was the one bad start, but no more than 4 runs in any of the starts. Realistically, looking at this series, Adam, is this a series, especially coming off the series where you lose to the Marlins 2 out of 3 and yet another extra innings game, which just, if they played the Marlins, it'd be the most must-watch baseball of the year if they played them 162 times. But is this a series where the Pirates need to just handle business? I know they're not like contending anymore. But at some point, when you're facing a team like Chicago that you are better than, you got to start asserting dominance here and start showing, okay, this team is going somewhere. Because me and Gary talked about this earlier, that this team needs to start showing progress, and they should not be worse in July than they were in May. So do they just really need to come out and just beat the Cubs outright? I mean, that's really what I'm expecting, but how do they do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we talked about on this podcast going into the season is can you be better than some of these teams in the division? And I think if you're a Pirates fan, it should be a source of frustration that you didn't do more, given the way you've competed in this division. I pulled up the records here. You're 8-5 against the Cubs. You're 4-5 against the Reds. 4-9 against Milwaukee, but they've played some really competitive games with the Brewers. I've been pretty impressed by how they've played the division leader, given the things that they have available. And then you're 2-8 against the Cardinals, so I would say that's the one big kind of blemish. But the way you've competed against the other teams is kind of the frustrating thing, right? Is if you didn't have to go out and add a big free agent necessarily. Just getting a little bit better in the margins could have made a big difference within the division. But to your point, you have played the Cubs well, and I think it'd be a big disappointment if you don't get at least one of these two to kind of keep that going, so that at least you feel when you're measuring these rebuilds, and obviously the Cubs pushed the plunger a little bit later than the Pirates did, so naturally the Pirates should be ahead. But that's what you want to see is how are you competing against the teams in a similar place in your division. And the Reds are obviously terrible too. So you want to see, I think at the end of the season, you'd like to see a winning record against both of those teams. So I think it is important to get wins like this, in terms of measuring progress, not necessarily toward competing for anything.
Oh yeah, and it's not also like the Cubs are playing like great baseball at the moment either. They are winners of 4 straight. They actually did sweep the Pirates' other opponent this week, the Philadelphia Phillies. Their last loss coming before the All-Star break against the New York Mets in 10 innings. So the the Cubs are playing good baseball right now, but they also have a 18-32 record at home. This is in Wrigley Field. The Pirates not much better on the road, 19-31. But again, I think for Pirates fans and even the players, going into Chicago, winning this game, both of these games really, like a split is fine, but winning both of these games would, I think, really propel this team going into that Philadelphia series, just because you really want, as you mentioned, to stack up against the teams you're closer to, like the Cubs and like the Reds. You want to stack up well against these teams. You don't want to struggle against Chicago. Like we all remember a couple months back with the Chicago Cubs whenever they lost a while back, 23-0, and it was just not good. It wasn't good at all. You want to stack up against these teams very well, and you want to make sure that, albeit 40-56, not the greatest record in the world, you want to make sure that things are on the right track for you in terms of beating these teams. As we lost Adam there for a second, but he will be right back. But plus 1.5 run line as Adam returns, plus 115 money line for the Pirates in tonight's game. And again, the Cubs are not going to be the same team they enter the series as they leave the trade deadline. I will tell you that right now. They're 9th in the NL in home runs. This just seems like a series that they need to win. This really seems like a series they need to come out and win. Both teams are 4-6 in their last 10 games. Pirates batting a little bit worse and pitching a little bit worse, being outscored by 12 runs, while the Cubs have only been outscored by 1. But you look at the injured list, man, and Cubs have a lot of guys missing. You're talking about Albert Alzolay. You're talking about Cody Hewer. You're talking about Brad Week. You're talking about Michael Hermosillo, Jason Hayward, Andrelton Simmons, Nick Madrigal. And for the Pirates, Brian Reynolds, of course, still out. Max Kranick still out. Smith and Jigba still out. The usual suspects that are out right now. As far as a prediction, while Adam is still fixing everything over there, I think the Pirates win both of these games. I really do. I think they come out and win tonight. against the Cubs. I think they come out and win tomorrow in another good game because I just think they're going to outpitch the Cubs personally. JT Brubaker, Adrian Sampson has been good. He's been a good pitcher for the most part for the Cubs, but I think Brubaker comes out. I think he does Brubaker things like he has over the course of the season, and I think the Pirates win both of these games. And who knows? I'm not sure. And yeah, I think the Pirates win both of these games. I think Brubaker, as mentioned before, I think he has a very good. I think he has a very good outing. As I keep mentioning, is not as good as the Pirates. I think Bryce Wilson against Thompson scares me, but I'm not really sure on that one. We'll see how that all goes. But the Pirates also have, as I mentioned earlier, the Cubs swept the Pirates' other opponent this year in the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Pirates will be on national TV on Saturday against the in-state rival Phillies. And the Phillies are an interesting case for what it takes to be a contending team because they are above 500, but they are not a playoff team. So that's going to be a very interesting litmus test, I think, for the Pirates to see what they could possibly do against a team like Philadelphia, who will enter the series not 49-46 because they have a series against Atlanta before the Pirates. But again, I think pitching will boil down to that Philly series, mainly because the Phillies have some good pitching. I'm not going to lie. I hear from the outside that they don't, but if you're just taking it with a grain of salt, and they're undecided on who they're going to start Friday, but Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez, and I believe Aaron Nola are all slated to pitch in that series. That's a tough gauntlet for the Pirates to make up. So how do you think the Pirates split or even beat the Phillies in a series? And could the Pirates be looking at a winning record this week, Adam?
Always at the beginning of every week, I never really know what to expect from this team, and that's the nature of inconsistency, right?
Yeah.
You can have weeks where the team looks great. I think back to that week that they played the Brewers tough, you really feel like things are clicking, and then all of a sudden they're not, and they lose, 5 out of the 7 games they play in a week. So, I think the nature of the beast right now is you're going to be playing teams like the Phillies that are desperate to win these games. I don't know that the Pirates are, but I think there's individual guys who are desperate to do things to prove that they belong on this team. And sometimes it's hard to predict what those outcomes are going to produce, right? So I think, we've seen this lineup struggle against good pitching, especially when it's, night after night in a series. You're gonna this lineup has proven that it can turn up a dud or two. You remove some of that power in Daniel Vogelbach, and you're not going to see that show up in the micro, but you're going to start seeing it show up in the macro. The more games you play without him, the more games you play without that power, that instant offense. And I think this is a series where that can start to reveal itself. Because you just don't have as much in the lineup as you did before. And I think that's kind of a little bit of an underrated thing is that this lineup has looked good at times. It has, I think, made a lot of progress since the beginning of the season when it struggled most of the time. But if you start removing names, how is that going to continue to hold up? So I think those are the things I'll be watching against a good team with good pitchers.
Yeah, and that's the thing that really me and Gary talked about earlier that we don't understand about what the Pirates are trying to do is they have guys in the lineup like Tsutsugo and Van Meter after having just this influx of youth that was really making this team a lot better over the course of a while. I mean, there was an episode I did with Gary about a month and a half ago, I think. It was the before the Tigers and Braves series, the Pirates were like 5 games out of a wild card. And I was like, okay, this is something to talk about. Like, they're playing good baseball, they're pitching well, the offense is starting to come along. And now you've kind of just shot it in the foot, I think, to put it lightly, because Yoshi Tsutsugo, again, the guy has like a 494 OPS and 177 plate appearances or something like that. I think I saw that stat this morning. Why does that need to play in your lineup? I don't get it. It's like you have these guys like Bly Madris and Jack Sawinski who are offering you something, yet you're still on this track where you're saying, okay, well, we need to start these guys and play these veterans. No, you don't. You're 16 games under 500. And I think the young guys are also going to start doing well. I said O'Neal Cruz, I think, was going to come out of the All-Star break and do good things. He's doing good things. At like the home run he had off of Alcantara yesterday. As far as like the week goes with predictions and what you want to see, Adam, what is it that you want to see from this team against the Cubs and the Phillies that would be welcoming to talk about over the next couple days?
Well, I don't know if there's anything new. I think it's, you want to see some of the trends continue. When it comes to like a guy like JT Brubaker, you want to see him. I think a big part of his success has been, keeping the ball in the yard compared to last season. I wrote about trends, I think last week, saying that he's done a really good job of keeping the ball in the yard, and that's why he's become a better pitcher, and now you're going into, I guess is it possible he could get 2 starts this week? Would he start maybe next Sunday? If he's not.
Yeah, he would be slated to start Sunday. So
okay, so if you
tonight,
if you get 2 starts this week, against in ballparks where the ball can fly out sometimes, and you keep doing well, I think that's fun to watch. With regard to your question about why are some of these guys getting playing time? I'll save my service time manipulation rant for another day. If you've been following me on Twitter, you've seen me going toe to toe with some Pittsburgh sports personalities on that. But I'll just say that I think above all, Ben Cherington is an asset manager, as a general manager, and the Pirates have these assets that I think they hope they can turn into something. I think you saw that with Daniel Vogelback. He was never probably going to be a long-term piece of this franchise, and so for that reason, they didn't really, care about, trading him. I think in the case of some of these guys who are getting playing time, it's they're trying to get those guys to a point where you can trade them for something. I think that's objectively insane with regards to guys like Josh Van Meter. I think Yoshi's moment passed last year. I think, he had his moment. He kind of took some people by surprise, and to be fair, lots of people wanted the Pirates to bring him back, and they spent a decent chunk of money to do it. So, I think it's for Ben Cherington in a lost season. It's a matter of managing the assets you have and getting the most out of them that you can before July 31st. I think once we get past that point, and if those guys are still here because there's no market for them, I think you're going to start to see their time fade. You might even see them get DFA'd. But for now, that seems to be his priority, whether you and I agree with it or not. I think the young guys should be getting the bulk of the playing time. I think those are the faces that we should be seeing in here, even if they struggle, because that they're prospects, and that they have at least the potential to be part of the future, and they have a chance to learn some lessons up here rather than guys who are definitely not part of the future. So I think that's just the nature of the beast right now. That's what his priority is, whether you or I agree with it.
Yeah, and I would like it to just be consistent, if that makes sense, in terms of the bringing up guys and pulling down guys, because if that's the case, O'Neal Cruz should have been sent back down to AAA. Just honestly, like if that's the logic that people want to use. Now, obviously, O'Neal Cruz will not be getting sent back down to AAA. He is a guy that I think the Pirates view as a centerpiece of the franchise for the next couple years, which I fully agree with. What is your record prediction for these 6 games, Adam? What do you think? Well, what are we thinking? 3-3, 4-2, 2-4. Where do you sit in terms of where the Pirates will perform this week?
I'll go 3-3, just because I think it's okay to have some expectations, but not too high of expectations. This team is still deliberately flawed in a lot of areas, and over a 6-game sample, you're going to probably have at least 2 nights where they're just going to get skunked, and I think that's what we see is even sometimes when you think they've built some momentum, just the nature of how shorthanded they are in a lot of spots, is going to reveal itself once or twice a week. So. The question is what you can do in those other 4 games, and so I'll say they'll split the week or maybe go 2-4. Even if they show encouraging signs.
I will agree with you there. I think they go 3-3. I think they sweep the Cubs. I'm very, very high on that. I think they will sweep Chicago, and then I think they lose 3 out of 4 to Philly. Like you mentioned earlier, I think the Phillies are just way more desperate for these wins than the Pirates are going to be. You look at the standings as they currently sit in the wild card, and Philly is about a game out. They are ahead of San Francisco and Miami, who are the other teams trying to vie for a spot behind St. Louis, Atlanta, and San Diego. So this is a big week for the Phillies. It really is. You could gain ground on the Braves in that first series while also keeping that ground against the Pirates. So for the Pirates, I think this is a week where, like you said, I think the flaws will come out a little bit, but I do think that they need to beat the Cubs twice. And then whatever happens in the Phillies series happens. I think that's really where I'm expecting it. Another outlier prediction: I think Schwarber hits one into the Allegheny this weekend, probably on national TV, so everybody in the world can see it. But Adam, welcome back. We're elated to have you back. What do you got going on over there at the Post Gazette for this week and moving forward?
Yeah, I'll be possibly I'm continuing to work on our preps coverage. Our high school football WPIA All City League preview is going to be coming out at the end of August, but we obviously have to do a ton of legwork on that, so I'll be spending a little bit of time there. Also, I'll do a little tease here, talking to the city about possibly bringing a NASCAR race to the city streets after Chicago's announcement last week. I always love to, kind of see what's going on, what the city's thinking about, because they do want to be a premier sports destination. I think a lot of people don't know that Pittsburgh already does have a successful street course race for where they run the Vintage Grand Prix. So just kind of asking those questions in terms of what's out there. And of course, we'll have Jason Mackey and Mike Persak all over the Pirates. There are two beat writers. They do a great job. So stay tuned to post-gazette.com. And please consider subscribing because it helps us do the journalism we love to do every day.
Oh, yeah, of course. And guys, I will see you tomorrow, probably recapping night 1 of the Chicago Cubs series. I hope you guys enjoyed Locked On Pirates double feature today. Of course, this episode was ad-free because we recorded earlier today with Gary. This will be, of course, at your airwaves before the game. And then tomorrow we will be up in the morning talking about the Chicago Cubs Pirates game 1, as well as any other news that comes within the world of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Guys, thank you so much. Adam, thank you as always for coming on to this podcast. And guys, I will see you on the flip side.